Recording in progress.
So, Riaz, I know Riaz for 36 years, I think. We worked together at Intel. We were not in the same department. I was in, I don't remember, at that time, maybe I was doing programmable logic and he was in processor marketing. At least that's what I remember. But I have another connection with Riaz also. He is a graduate of NED. I am graduate of NED. Unfortunately, he's very younger than me, so I can't compete with that. Riaz has been writing about Pakistan and even USA and South Asia in general, and many different topics. And one of the topic he has been now last few weeks is he's been looking at Pakistani digital startup and other things which are happening over there and how much money is going there. He'll talk about other things also, but this is his presentation. He has a PowerPoint, so he'll share with us. So Riaz, please go ahead. I'll let you share your screen. Okay. Just a minute. Just 1 minute. Multiple people. Okay, you can share now.
Can you see it?
One more thing, I'll just say we have yes, they come. Let me just say one thing, that the chat, you can ask question on chat, and Riaz can see it also. Just chat to all. If he prefers, he can answer at that time, or we'll answer at the end. And then at the end, I'm sure there will be a little bit of time to you can ask questions also. So, sorry, Riaz, go ahead, please.
तो उर्दू में करूँ या इंग्लिश में?
आपकी मर्जी है, जो जैसे चले. मेरा ख्याल है ये सब उसकी बात है ना स्टार्टअप की, तो उसमें कुछ चीजें इंग्लिश में सही रहेगा, लेकिन up to you.
Sure. No, if you're going to present, share it with other people, then I think I should speak in English.
Yes, it is recorded, so it will be put on PSCC newsletter also, and will be shared on YouTube.
Okay. All right. So I'll speak English.
Yeah.
Okay. So the topic for today is digital transformation in Pakistan. And it covers a lot of ground, not just the transformation itself, but all of the technology startup activity and the funding and everything else that's going on at the moment in Pakistan. You know, it wouldn't be wrong to say that what's happening right now in Pakistan is unprecedented in terms of technology, startup area. There's massive amounts of money being raised, which is unheard of, at least in the context of Pakistan. So there are a number of things that are necessary when we talk about technology and digital transformation. The first and most important is human capital. And there has been significant human capital growth in the country. I'll talk about that. And then I'll go on into digital infrastructure. You need infrastructure, you need network connectivity. You need lots of computers and devices that connect to the internet. Then you need some legal framework, some regulatory reform that makes it easy for people to start companies and to be able to grow them and attract the investment that they need. Then I'll turn to rising startup investments that's going on in the country, Pakistan's technology exports. What are the top IT service companies that are exporting services? What are the freelancers doing? There's a lot of freelancers in the country right now who are working remotely on contracts for many of the Western companies. And then I'll conclude. So when one of the things that happened in 2002, 2003 timeframe was a higher education reform that resulted in the establishment of 51 new universities in the country. And there was 6,000% increase in higher education funding, the budgets that came from the government. This happened during Musharraf years. There were 2,000 scholarships awarded for overseas PhD for faculty development for these universities. University enrollment jumped from just 275,000 in 2001 to about 800,000 in 2008. There are about 10 million college graduates now in the country with a bachelor's degree or higher, and about 2 million students enrolled in universities, about 500,000 graduating every year, including 30,000 IT graduates. So there's a nationwide digital library network with access to 25,000 research journals worldwide. This is a quick snapshot of the enrollment growth in universities. And you can see that there's been a significant growth starting with 2001, 2002. And it's been actually true for both genders, girls and boys. And the girls, a little bit less for girls than for the boys, but the numbers are rising rapidly. Digital infrastructure, in terms of digital infrastructure, the first thing that made a big difference was deregulation in 2003. That opened the way for several new telecom companies. Before that, before 2003, there was only one company, that monopoly, that controlled everything. It was hard to get even a telephone line in the country. So it was deregulated, many new entrants came in. Then there was now there is a mobile broadband, which is 3G and 4G, is widely available throughout Pakistan. There's thousands of kilometers of fiber optic cable has been installed. Over 100 million broadband subscriptions, over 100 million smartphones in the country. And there's a growing middle class driving demand for smartphones, broadband, e-commerce, education, gaming, entertainment, financial technology, etc. So this is to cover both the supply side and the demand side. One of the things you can see here is that if you look at particularly the metro areas, the top three, which is Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad, about 76% of the population in these three metro areas now has access to is now using internet on a regular basis. Overall in the country, those who are connected is about 54%. So all of these are the basic things that are necessary in order for technology growth to occur. Another thing that's happening is Pakistan has a very rapidly growing middle class. Outside of the world's most populous countries, which is India and China, if you look at the numbers, Pakistan is number 2. Indonesia is expected to have the largest growth over the next decade in the middle class. Pakistan is number 2 with about 60 million expected to enter the middle class in the next decade. Then there was, one of the problems that we're having was getting investment into particularly the startup activity. So one thing that happened in 2017 was there was a Pakistan Finance Act passed, which gave made it easier for investors to repatriate their returns, their gains. Also, minority shareholders' rights were increased under Section 140. Prior to that, anybody, you had to own at least, 10% of the shares in order to be able to make be able to influence the direction of the company. Now you can be own as little as 5% of the voting power to have a say in resolutions that are put forward. Employee stock options were allowed and buyback. Previous employee stock options were only allowed for private limited companies, and shares could only be issued to the business founders. They couldn't be issued to the employees. Then they understood the concept of sweat equity, where not everybody had to actually put in real money, real dollars, real rupees into the company. Some people could own the company by just putting in their sweat equity, just their labor, their work, their ideas. And then it made it easier to incorporate companies. Apparently the 2017 wasn't working very well. It was still not drawing much investment in the country. So then came the 2020 Companies Amendment Ordinance, and it allows for compensation to be paid in equity. Where you can pay employees and contractors, people who work for you, in equity as a significant percentage of their compensation. There was no requirement to deposit startup capital within 30 days. Prior to that, whatever startup capital you had to deposit that within 30 days. There was no need, now there's no need to have a chartered accountant. That was another big thing. People started companies had to have a chartered accountant. Now they've eliminated that requirement for the startup stage. And companies certified as startups by Pakistan Software Board have 100% tax credit. Companies can be classified as startups for up to 10 years of life. And then startups can buy back shares from departing employees. So if somebody is leaving, they can sell their shares back to the company, and the company buy it back. So as a result of that, there has been a huge increase in the amount of money raised. Now, this chart here is showing expectation of 230 million plus for 2021, which is like a lot higher than 50 million that was raised in 2020. But in fact, by the end of last month, by the end of September, the figure now is 278 million that has already been raised by startup companies in the country. So here is quite an eye chart, but I'll just walk you through it. The total amount is 278 million that has been raised so far by startups, technology startups in Pakistan. Out of that, 173 million has come in just the last quarter of Q3, July through September quarter. And if you look at the companies that have raised money, the biggest investment came into a company called Airlift. This is basically a delivery company. Then came Bazaar. Bazaar is they help this kind of they facilitate retail management. Then there is the QisstPay, which is the latest. They got 15 million at seed stage. So QisstPay is like buy now, pay later type of a company where you can, it's very hard for Pakistanis to buy it because of lack of credit. Buy things, consumer products, like if you want to buy a refrigerator or an air conditioner for your home, you have to have cash. Now, the companies like QisstPay, and there are others too who are offering the ability to buy these things on installments, where these companies actually finance the purchase. In terms of the areas that have been funded, e-commerce is number one, $117 million in Q3 2021. $117 million have gone into e-commerce, 35 million into fintech or financial technology, about 13.6 million in trucking, and then in marketing, there's about $2.7 million investment raised. So I think I went through this already, some of these names. There's one name that I did mention, there's Tajir. Tajir actually got about $17 million in Series A investment. And one of the investors is actually a company called Kleiner Perkin, which I'm sure you've all heard of. It's a local VC, which is quite well known.
Yeah, Kleiner Perkin and Sequoia, they are the top 2 or 3 VCs here.
Yeah, Sequoia hasn't gone in there yet, but Kleiner Perkin is there now. So these are some of the names of the investors. Many of they're both, American and European companies there. Like Process is actually located here in San Francisco. Y Combinator, you probably have heard of. Then some are Chinese, like Ant Financial is a Chinese company, Chinese VC. So this is an interesting tweet that I cut and paste here. This is a fund manager by the name of Matthias Martinsson. He's a Swedish fund manager who manages a fund called Tundra, which has a stake in Pakistan. And he's basically tweeted that I've followed Pakistan for 15 years now. Can't recall any time when VC activity was anywhere near what we've seen over the last few months. Impact of reforms kicking in, he's asking this question. And I think it's probably right. There is an impact of reform that makes it easy for foreign investors to bite. This is just technology exports. Last year was a big year for tech exports. About $2.1 billion worth of technology exports were recorded last year, last fiscal year, that is, which ended in June of 2021. These are some of the top names in IT services companies that are exporting services to the rest of the world. And then there's lots of freelancers. In terms of freelancer revenue growth, Pakistan is ranked number 4 in the world, number 1 in Asia. There was 47% growth in freelance revenue last year in Pakistan. So again, Pakistan is finally online. Things are taking off, and it's all the result of significant growth in human capital and internet infrastructure. The startup investments are an all-time high. The exports hit $2.1 billion the end of last fiscal year. Pakistan digital transformation is in full swing. Now, I write a blog, and if you have an interest in this area, you want to understand what's going on. So one of the blogs that I write is South Asian Investor Review. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is a chat question, my question. What is the total export of Pakistan, everything, in fiscal year 21?
I think the total was 26 billion dollars.
So this is about 7-8% of total. This technology.
Yeah, but it's the fastest rising.
Yes.
47% increase last year.
So what is the top one? Which is the top export item?
I think the number one is textiles.
Okay.
And those from Karachi might be interested in this. About 51% of all exports from Pakistan go from Karachi.
Yeah. The textile was from the Punjab area also coming in, right?
Right, but the biggest exporter are Karachi firms. The number 2 is Lahore, and number 3 is Faisalabad.
Yeah. Textile, when Pakistan started, within like 5-6 years, there were a lot of textile mills already.
Yeah. I mean, that's typically what happens. Developing countries start out by selling things like commodities and textiles, and then they unearn enough foreign exchange to graduate to higher value-added products, which unfortunately hasn't happened in Pakistan, mainly because in 1971, I think 72 when Bhutto came, he basically stopped, he nationalized everything. And that drove away a lot of investors who were actually already starting to build up the industry. So the industrialization process suddenly came to a halt.
Yeah. Didn't he nationalize many industries?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He industrialized, he nationalized banks, he nationalized a large industry. There was this, he basically, there was this 22 family thing that he went after. Now, if you look at any country in the world, it's always, in the beginning, it's a few families that build up the capital to be able to invest. If you make everybody equal, like everybody is middle class, then you never have the capital that you need to invest in order to grow. So you got to have some rich people. This bias against the rich can be very dangerous, especially in a developing country.
So there is a question from Qazi Habib Saab. How does Pakistan compare with India, Israel, or Ireland in startups? And
there's no comparison.
Yeah.
India and Israel are far ahead of Pakistan.
Yeah.
But remember, Pakistan has been asleep for a while. You need to have human capital. That growth didn't start until, Musharraf made a huge investment in higher education and started producing the human capital that's needed to develop.
So, what is the reason of Pakistan remaining so behind India or Israel?
I just told you the main reason is human capital, I think.
Human capital. So, there's shortage of human capital.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of universities, you have to make investments. One of the things, India, for example, I know one of the things that narrated early on, he set up these IITs in India, and they made a huge investment in those elite institutions, which produced very capable, very competent people. As the number of people with those degrees grew, so did India's ability to build and support technology.
Yeah. Riaz, you can read from the chat. If you can't, I'll read it.
I can't. I am on full screen now, so let me get out of full screen.
No, still you will be able to see chat point at the bottom. Chat button is always there.
Okay, let me go full screen here.
Okay. Let me just read it.
Yeah.
So this is from Nayab Siddiqui Saab. How is the human capital catching up with this fast growth especially in terms of availability of tech experts capable of building complex technologies?
Well, I think it's going very rapidly. As I gave you the numbers, we already have about 10 million college graduates in the country. And I would say about 20-30% of these are from technology area. They're also working on the vocational training institutes where they're training technicians. There's an organization called NAVCAC in Pakistan. NAVCAC is actually training hundreds of thousands of people who work as technicians in the country.
Yeah, I just one anecdote. I came to USA to do my master's, and in NED we did control systems. 1 year, I think last year we did control systems. When I came to USA, and I took again control systems class, and there was a student from IIT Kanpur. He would never attend any class. And he said, we have done all of that over there.
Yeah.
And I still had trouble with control systems even in USA.
Yeah.
So that's the way they teach over there, at least at that time, was just just so bad. Like,
Right.
No, actually, one of the things I noticed about NED, I was there too, is the input material at NED was very, very good because the admission process was highly selective.
yes.
So whatever product NED produced had nothing to do with the quality of teaching. It had more to do with how smart the kids were to begin with.
Yeah.
And they learned on their own. When I came to the United States, one of the first things they gave me was the electronics lab to run. And we had this professor in Pakistan who wouldn't let us touch anything in the electronics lab. So I had to catch up very, very quickly, but I did. When it became when I had to, I learned it very, very quickly, and I was able to handle that lab pretty well.
Yeah, I just read somewhere, and this is a 5-year-old blog, that is still some university don't allow to touch any of the electronics equipment. Because there, first of all, it's only one, and only teacher knows how to use it. Maybe he knows how to use it. Anyway, so those are all the questions. Anybody else? You can unmute and ask question.
Yeah, just to add a comment to my question and the answer. In fact, I'll just give a small example of my own experience. Like, for instance, I was talking to somebody at Apple, and that was my question to him, that we've got so many Indians working for you. But now there's a huge number of technology or experts coming out from Pakistan. Why don't you try hiring them from Pakistan rather than India? And his question was that, I mean, you're producing masses now for the last several years, but the level of their understanding as for complex technology is not there. So it's always better to go for India and hire from there. So for low quality, or I don't know what is the right technical word for that. So for basic things they can hire from Pakistan, but for more technical things they were always looking for India. So that is one. And second, I don't know how far it has changed, and basically it all comes down to our universities and our educational institutes, that how far they are training our graduates. So for sure there is no comparison between, I mean, we are as good as any other nation as far as our intellect is concerned, but it all depends upon, I mean, what our universities are teaching them, and how they are training them to come to that level where they are at par with any other country in the world.
Yeah. Actually, I was hiring people in 90s, and for a special job. Actually, I was in legal department, and I was doing working as an engineer in a legal department, finding out counterfeit Intel microprocessor which were coming from Taiwan, right? And one of the things which we needed to do was there is a microcode in every processor, which is kind of hard number in there, which is how instructions are decoded in there. And there was a guy came in there, and I talked to him. He seems very good in Pakistani guy. He seems very good with just the general technology. He knew computer and he knew everything else, but he had no idea what microcode is, first of all. And then one of my engineer from Oregon, who was a American guy, he would go and under a microscope he would look at the things, because the line were not that fine, so he could figure out which one is 1 and which one is 0. Yeah, and he would find the microcode.
You could see back then. You could see these things.
Yes, under microscope. Yeah.
You can't see that anymore.
His last name I forgot, but his first name was Charlie. Intel Oregon. So, but I mean that was at least now a mid 90s problem. I personally faced. Yeah.
So like for instance, a few years ago we were trying to create a startup in Pakistan, again technology driven, and I went down to Pakistan, talked to a few tech companies, and there were very few who were understanding the concept. and they were charging almost the same amount which any technology company would charge in Dubai or in India or in US to build that technology. And for smaller software houses, they were not even understanding it. They didn't have the capability to develop it. And even afterwards, I found out they were also talking to big companies like NetSol or others to build it for them and charge a little bit of premium. So that was sort of a dilemma maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But looking at the numbers right now, I feel like it's quite positive. But again, the question is, are we creating that capable, a pool of capable people who can, bridge this gap so quickly?
जी खालिद साहब
Yes, sir. Can I ask you? Can I say something?
जी सही है कहिए
Number one, I request if these rights which were shown here, if it can be distributed to us, because I think they have very good information. Number one. Number two, the nationalism is growing in Indian community. In few days back, somewhere in America, many people, more than 1,000 or maybe 800, they gather at one place and they say we are going to boycott everything from Pakistan. So here in America, the situation is that in most big companies, either their CEO is Indian or they are Indian at a higher positions, and they can control many things from there. So that appears if the nationalism is grown there, that appears that then that will result in the less job opportunities for Pakistani, and they can deny Pakistanis for one reason or second reason, it will be easy for them. So I don't know our seniors or who are at that positions have they whether they are thinking about this or not, and how to overcome this. Because many of us Pakistani, they are working in companies where Indians are on a higher position. So I hope and I wish it should not be in that way. But since this type of feeling or this type of spirit is growing in their mind, so that will affect up to some extent. So this is my second question. The third question, Pakistan exports many things. I think the mango is a very good produce. So it's possible that mango can come here as we see the mango from the Indian place.
First, Riaz, can you send me the latest presentation, a copy? Just email me that. If you don't mind sharing it with everybody here.
No, I don't have a copy. Mike will send it to you.
Yeah. So I'll send it to all the people who are in attendance today. I have email for everybody. From the mango point of view, I don't know what the situation is, but there was a Indian guy in California Department of Agriculture. He's moved now. He's not here. He told me at that time that Pakistanis, the mango when it comes here, whatever the mango, they know the reason they didn't allow it is because it didn't pass the sanitary quality. Generally, the mangoes which are like come here, which are green, they actually kind of do a fumigation before they export. And Pakistan was not doing it. Now, I think I see some places Pakistani mangoes also, but very little, you're right.
Oh, they've started that. They have this, they call it, I think they have to do some hot processing.
Yes.
To kill all the bacteria. They also sometimes do irradiation.
Yes.
So there was a project undertaken in Pakistan with the help of United States, US aid actually, where they established a number of these centers in the country. It's a shelf life. One of the issues with it is that, you have to transport these a long distance. And then after you transport them, you got to have some shelf life here. So it lengthens the life of the product. You know, the things you buy on the shelf here at the grocery or the supermarket, they process these in a way that it looks very nice, it looks beautiful because they put something on it.
But I think Riaz mangoes are available in Canada for years.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Pakistani mangoes, Pakistani
just
mangoes.
deliberate.
Yeah.
Could be deliberate. You know, in the world, these are called non-tariff barriers. That you can put up these kinds of barriers by all kinds of reasons.
I think for mangoes, we have to be more organized at the other end, on Pakistan side there. I think we have to improve our system there. I think that may be a reason that it is not coming here.
Your middle comment was there is one thing which is happening for there are now recently very few H1B coming in from Pakistan, which are the initial people. India is still, there is a lot of coming. This Muslim ban which happened, it had an impact, and it still is continuing in that way.
No, I think the way Indians have done it is they have these body shops in the United States.
So
They actually take a lot of work
to do
from the US company.
what our seniors should do, or some people are in position should do.
This is Khalid Saab, this is more of a politics issue now. And what Riaz was saying was that there are companies which they bring people on H-1B visa, and they are given as a contractor to US companies, or they are hired over there, and they collect the money goes first to this company, contracting company, and then company pays the salary to Indian whoever comes in there.
There's a lot of horror stories of how poorly they treat these people there. You know, some people call them the H-1B slaves.
Yes.
I'm talking about this point and besides this point also. I'm talking about the people who are already in America. Citizens. Suppose I am working in a company and I want to quit that, or my job is finished, then I will have the difficulty to go to another company where some Indian bosses are there. I'm talking about the people who are already in America.
Yeah. This is kind of natural in a way, and natural in the sense that, like earlier, white people only hired whites. Now there is a Black Lives Matter, so maybe we should start Pakistan Lives Matter.
There are so few of us, so that's the problem. You don't have that kind of power.
Yes. So
I see in future it will be a serious thing.
what thing? I'm sorry.
If nationalism is grown there, then it will become a serious thing for us.
I'm sorry. What is seniors thing you mean? Seniors?
The people who can do something, who can decide something, who can make everybody, the whole united and just, so think for it,
चलिए हाँ ठीक है. Any other question, comments?
Yes, I would like to ask a question. Riaz sir, would you recommend some Pakistani startup companies for investment, and what will be the procedure for investing?
In Pakistan?
In Pakistan, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able, I wouldn't know how to do that. You'd have to contact, there are a number of, in Pakistan, fortunately, they have a number of these incubators and other kinds of consultants, companies that fortunately have figured out the process. And they actually help you. Like something like Y Combinator, they have these incubators.
So actually, there was a Pakistani VC, if I am not mistaken, about 15 years ago, and I went to their office in Hotel Metropole, and that's one way to invest if you want to do that. You invest with that company, and they invest in startups, the problem was they were so small, like 5 million. Their total fund was $5 million, which doesn't do much, and you can't be very effective as even a VC as a minority investor. I mean, generally. So there may be more. There now more Pakistani VCs resident in Pakistan. There may be some people like that.
Yeah, there are some of these rich people have started investing in Pakistan now. There's Fatma Gobi Ventures, which is, I think, there's a Chinese founder and a Pakistani founder. You might have heard about Fatma Fertilizer. They basically make fertilizer, but they're putting some money into this. Then there is a woman called Kalsoom Lakhani, who I know. And Kalsoom has started this venture called I2I Ventures, which is also investing in Pakistan. But her focus is mainly in promoting women entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah, there is another issue in that Pakistan, and this is again almost 20-year-old, 15, same time when I met the VC. I knew a couple of, my brother knew a couple of industrialists in textile business, and actually I knew one from my college in Oklahoma, and he's running a textile mill. So I said, why don't you invest some of your money in this startup? He said, they don't give me any dividend, they don't give me any yearly profit. And startups don't do that.
Yeah, they don't understand that the idea of risk capital and growth stocks.
Yeah, so they did not understand. This guy actually is educated in USA, but it was like in 70 at my time. And but he couldn't get it. Why would I invest in something which may lose right away? I will lose 100% of my money right away.
Yeah,
he couldn't get that.
The attitudes are changing slowly.
Sure.
And even now, most of the money is coming from outside. Most of the VC money comes from Europe, Middle East, from China, from now United States. One good thing that's happened is there are several VC partners in America.
Yeah.
There are companies here that have their Pakistani partners who are managing. One of these is actually invested in Tajir recently, who was with Kleiner Perkins. He took that upon himself to invest.
Mm.
So it's similar to India. India has the same issue. But then a bunch of Indian VCs popped up here and they started investing in India.
So Mahmood Saab, I worked with a VC for 10 years before I completely retired. And the VCs, generally they say, if you invest in 10 companies, 4 to 5 will become zero. Right? And one might make 10 times what your investment was. One might. And 3 or 4 will be, okay, fine, 10, 20% per year type of thing, which is no different than stock market. Yeah. So, and the other thing is, when you invest in VCs or startup, you can't just do one. That's just too much of a concentration. You have to do. I mean, that company which I worked on, they had like within 5 years they had 25 companies they invested in. It was $160 million fund, a small fund, not like a Kleiner Perkins or Sequoia. And at the end, they didn't make money as that fund. Fund actually lost money at the end, which just closed down. That's just last 2 years ago.
There was a couple of years when they made no money at all. None of the VCs made money. And the only VCs that made money were like Sequoia and a couple of others who invested in Google.
Yes.
That year, Google went public. And that made up for all of the losses everybody made everywhere else.
Yeah. Those are the things, the story you hear. You don't hear the story of failures.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why it sounds attractive, but the inside is dark.
Yeah.
And like people who started, remember this internet bubble in 98, 99? Whoever invested in those 2 years lost money for next 4 years.
Yeah.
Because everybody would put .com in front of their company name and they get invested.
That's why investors, big people with a lot of money, only put a small amount of their
Exactly.
portfolio into risk capital. The rest of it goes into more reliable investments.
Yeah. Generally, they say if you have large amount of money, even then you should not invest more than 5% or 5 to 10% in.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
But even that 5% can make a huge difference.
Yes.
To an
Yes.
economy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's a big number. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Any other question, comments here? Okay, then we'll close the meeting. Thank you very much, Riaz. This was a good presentation, good discussion, and hope we can continue this type of thing afterwards. Riaz, if you come up with some other topic related to Pakistan, generally we don't talk about politics, so that we would stay away from there. But any other item which is related to Pakistan, if you're I know I read your email every week whenever you send it, and I read your Pakistan link articles also. Sometimes they are same, but sometimes there is different in Pakistan link is a different one. So
Pakistan link, the newspaper?
Newspaper from LA, Los Angeles से आता है.
Right.
तो वो
You have it online as well?
वो उनसे अगर सब्सक्राइब कर लें तो एवरी वीक आपको संडे को उसका न्यूज़लेटर आ जाएगा. न्यूज़ पेपर है एक्चुअली, इससे उर्दू में भी है, इंग्लिश में भी है. तो उसमें पहले तो ये यहाँ की रेस्टोरेंट में फ्री पड़े होते थे, अब वो नहीं हो रहा आजकल. वो प्रिंट नहीं कर रहे, वो बेसिकली एवरीथिंग इज ऑनलाइन. लेकिन उसमें अच्छी चीज़ें होती हैं पाकिस्तान के बारे में, पाकिस्तान पॉलिटिक्स, पाकिस्तान के ये जो है क्रिकेट के बारे में काफ़ी होता है. 4-5 पेजेस हमेशा क्रिकेट के बारे में होते हैं उसमें. तो
it's a pretty good newspaper.
It's a pretty and they do actually a lot of work. Pakistani community type of work in Los Angeles. They manage a lot of events and 14 Pakistan. Exactly. He's an Indian. आपको पता है कि TCF का CEO भी an Indian है?
I know. Yeah.
असद क्या नाम लास्ट नेम है? Anyway, चलिए. Thank you very much for attending. जी शुक्रिया. ये रिकॉर्ड हो जाएगा तो फिर उसके बाद मैं भेजता हूँ, लिंक भी भेजता हूँ और रियाज की वो भी जो प्रेजेंटेशन कॉपी वो भी भेजूंगा. ओके जी, थैंक यू. खुदा हाफिज़ सबको.